This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Back for hour number 2 on this Thursday morning. Big thank you to Ian Simonich, Moorhead native, former Bison golfer, for joining us today, chatting Red River Amateur Golf. Getting ready for that tournament coming up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll have it for you on WDAY Extra and WDAY Plus. I've said it before, whenever I'm filling in for Dom on this show, I got to chat hockey, especially high school hockey. I've been here for 3 years now, and it's been so much fun learning the landscape of North Dakota high school hockey, seeing the talent that's out there right now, and just to be able to talk about it with some of the heavy hitters is a lot of fun. And that's what we have here to start hour number 2. Tyler Klein joining us here on this Thursday morning. He's the head coach of Fargo North Hockey. We were just chatting off air. It's a little weird to be talking hockey in June, but it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, you as well, Sam. Thanks for having me. I love that you mentioned that about hockey. You know, I think it probably, I think it could stand to be, we'd love it covered more. And I think the more that people are talking about Fargo hockey is a good thing. We've got quite the powerhouse across the river with Moorhead and Minnesota hockey. But I've always been a Fargo hockey guy, so I love being able to talk about our local programs and what we're doing here and be able to, kind of put it out there that we've got fantastic players and programs as well, and it's growing, and our kids need that, and our sport needs that too in North Dakota, and more positive talk around it is always great, and it's always welcomed.
Absolutely. And we're not just bringing you on for no reason. There is plenty of stuff to talk about here in the month of June. I want to go back to the state tournament this last year. That's when the news came down that Fargo South Shanley, that co-op, was going to dissolve going into this upcoming season. Shanley would co-op with the faith-based schools in the metro here and create their own program. And then that left up questions, well, what's going to happen to the Fargo South team? Because the numbers just haven't been there. Well, we now know the answer, that Fargo South and Fargo North are going to come together and co-op in the sport of high school hockey on the boys' side and the girls' side for this upcoming season. Give us the background on this. How long has this been in the works, and what have the last couple of months been like?
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago.
It does.
I remember when it did come out, I'm like, oh, I feel like my phone's just going to blow up. And there's going to be question, concern, even like uneasiness, right? Because we don't know. It wasn't really like that. I think this has been something that's probably been talked about or looked at for a while. Mm-hmm. The north side of the program has been really healthy. Yeah. We have to make tough decisions in November, like we have had for previous years, and there's been healthy numbers there. And no one loves making those decisions, but I think it means your program is healthy. So, we've had the numbers, but we've also known that it was a Shanley thing. It was a South thing. And when I played high school hockey, Shanley was their own team and South was their own team. And both of them have had some tremendous seasons, and they've had great seasons together too. So a lot of question mark, a lot of wonder. I think there's quality numbers at Fargo Davies, and more so than there are at Fargo North. So that was kind of the thought, is it's been done on the girls' side. I think some of the success that the girls have had just speaks for itself. And they've done an incredible job with that program. And we're sitting here going, can we do that too?
Right.
So it took some time, and I can't speak for families necessarily, but for me, it was wanting to prepare for anything and everything, wanting to make sure the communication was right. And now that we have an answer and we have something to move forward with, that's to me the best part. We are skating. We want to connect players and families, because we're taking two high schools that had been taught to, that was the number one goal, was to beat each other. And now we're going to put them together. Yeah. But these kids know each other. They grow up playing together. I think there's something really exciting about this. And November's a ways away, and I love summer, so I'm not wishing that away by any means, but I am excited when we actually go take the ice in November.
I want to dissect that a little bit. I was on the phone for a half hour, an hour with Dean Wilson, giving me the history of Fargo North against Fargo South and what that used to be like. You lived that rivalry in the heyday. What was that rivalry like?
I mean, I've got just incredible memories of it, right? From so many different angles. And I love Wills. What an amazing Fargo hockey guy. And he's got some of the best stories out there. So I guarantee he told you a couple good ones.
Yep.
But I remember going to the old Coliseum. We're kicking the puck around playing boot hockey with all the boys, but then like the place was packed. It's
Hmm.
north-south hockey. It was just the hottest ticket in town, and everybody was there. And it brought out not just hockey fans, that high school. Like if you were
Yeah.
connected to North, you were there. If you're connected to South, you're there. And as a player, I remember even through youth, right? Because it was Raider Flyer. I remember there being games where it's like there is no like or love for anybody on the other side.
Hmm.
We want to beat them. That's the goal. And then you grow up, right? And you play with some of these guys out of season or at different events. So you find yourself skating to the center dot, kind of sharing that eye glance
Right.
with that player. Like, yeah, we're buddies, but boy, I'm not going to take it easy on you tonight. Um, and then, you're giving them hugs after the game. And I love that. Like, I love seeing that and seeing kids that have that connection with players after the game. And I think it ups the compete level. And I remember being a coach, and it was one of my first North-South games, and I thought we weren't very good after the first period. And I was a young coach, and it was one of the first times I think I really leaned into the kids after the first period. And they had a tremendous response. We go out there, we score like 3-4 goals unanswered. And I remember, right. And it's awesome that he was the guy, but JD, who's,
Hmm.
sadly not with us anymore, but I think he knew I was a young guy and he could see me kind of overthinking it. And he pops into my ear and he's like, well, whatever you said in the room worked. And we laughed really quickly. And it did, right? We won the game
Yeah.
5-3. And if you would have told me that after the first period, I was like, well, I thought we were going to get our butts kicked because I just didn't like the way we were playing. But it's there's tons of tremendous stories and memories and different generations of coaches and guys that I'm connected to who just love the North-South rivalry. And it's wild to think that it's not going to look like that anymore. But I
Right.
think there's a really cool opportunity here for kids to put their mark on something that is special, that is historical, and that will be remembered. So,
Yeah.
I think the kids are bought into that, and that is the exciting side of it. There's a hard piece to this too, for sure, but that's the exciting side of it. And I want kids to work towards that, and I want people to accept that and understand that there's an opportunity to do some really cool stuff here. And if we can have some level of success that the girls have had, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And really, that's what it boils down to. Obviously, people are going to be upset that the rivalry is not there between North and South. But when you look after the co op between South and Shanley dissolved, there's only, 13 guys in the South program right now. And it's all about getting these kids an opportunity to play. And that's exactly what's happening here, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like you look across the state, the level of competitiveness is increasing. So as a coach, you're trying to put the most competitive team out there, right? Like Grand Forks. I mean, we know they're tremendous programs. The Western teams are picking up, right? Like Legacy's got a really strong program.
Yep.
Minot has put some really good
Yes,
teams
they
on the
have.
ice lately. I don't think there's any gimmies in the EDC, especially if you don't show up. So I think competitiveness is absolutely there. And then you look past that and you're like, you're future proofing it, or you're building it for the future through your JV team. So um you have to be looking at those things, and you have to be building, you have to be developing, and you have to keep competitiveness in mind too. And how are we going to stack up against these teams? So um I think there's plenty of rivalries out there
Hmm.
still. I love lacing them up against Minot, which is a one game a year for us right now. Anytime you're on the ice with Grand Forks, you feel like you're on the ice with the standard of North Dakota high school
Yeah.
hockey, right? So it's like, get yourself into that game and really see, it's a measuring stick. And if you're fortunate enough to beat them, you can kind of feel like you're a contender. And
Hmm.
I think the Shanley team's going to quickly roll into just a local
Yep.
Fargo, West Fargo rivalry right there. And then, of course, if we can do anything, we can combine North and South, and we can both get on the same page that we'd love to beat Fargo Davies. And I know they're going to sit there and say we want to beat Fargo North and Fargo South too. So there's healthy competition in the
Yep.
metro and across our state, which is great.
You can definitely build new rivalries. They may not be the same as North-South, but you can build up from there, which is going to be super cool. I know we're a long ways away, and it's hard to look into the crystal ball. What do you expect that first week of practice to be like with South and North kids there?
Yeah, yeah. And we're skating right now.
Oh, are you?
We're skating in the mornings, right? June and July are the months where we can be with our players, and we get on the ice 3 days a week. And, to me, I don't think that's too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the right mix. And I know kids are working out, training, they're skating, they're working on some skill development. And I think all of that is great. So, one thing we're talking about, right, is this level of connectedness on and off the ice, because we're going to need it more than
Right.
a team who's just their high school. So that's important to us. But as much as there's, compete level and guys are pushing each other, a June and July skater, they're looking a touch different than November.
Mm-hmm.
So I would anticipate nerves. I'm going to anticipate, guys just not quite sure what to expect a little bit. But then once we skate through some of that and get through it, I think it's going to be a high level of compete. I think you're gonna see a lot of guys doing the right things, fighting for spots, and while that is the hard part of the game, that also does bring the best out in everybody. So, me being just a hockey lover myself, I'm excited to watch it and be a part of it and help kids get there. That's really the goal right now too, is say, I understand that this is intimidating and new, and guys might be looking over their shoulder about where they're gonna line up or fit into a lineup. And,
Right.
I'm telling kids, like, as much as the staff are your coaches, we're going to, work with you guys and be your partner to help you to develop, give you the tools and make sure that you're the best version of yourself come November. So I'm excited for the competition. I think that's what you need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I fully understand the nerves, and, I know that in my seat, I'm the head coach, and that might come with some level of intimidation, but I try to smile a lot and keep it as light as I can when I'm able to. And hopefully that'll get kids comfortable quickly.
Yeah.
And then we'll just be able to compete and focus on the game and really work on our product.
I'm really looking forward to see what this team can do this coming year and the upcoming years as well. I got to ask you, the girls' side of this and their co-op, North-South, the Spruans, they've dominated the girls' side of North Dakota high school hockey. Are we going to see branding in this new co-op? Are we going to see a boys Spruans in there? Or does it stay Fargo North?
So it is confirmed that it's staying Fargo North Spartans.
Okay.
And I know that was a piece which was, I think there was conversation around it, right? Part of that staying that way is this is something that's going to be evaluated year to year. I mean, there was a meeting in April where it was said that if numbers come back around and the health of the South program allows itself to go back on its own, that's where that's where we would all like to go. But I think it's like an evaluation based on year to year. And if it is something that, deems like this is going to be concrete and this is the best path moving forward, then I think we have those conversations. But, probably a simple one for now. And, if there was a South player sitting there, I could understand, changing colors and that being difficult. But, I also believe in our messaging, our staff, our program, and what we've built, that there's going to be some excitement there. And, at the end of it, it is just hockey, right? And still playing the game, still competing, different jersey. I'm about that. But if there's success, when there's success, and when things start to click, I think kids are going to love it and really find that camaraderie. And that's when that's the moment where you just sit back and watch and are able to be a fan of it, and hoping for that, right? Really
Absolutely.
am. And I think we're going to get there.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys play. Thanks for coming on and giving us a couple of minutes. I know you got a really busy schedule going on right now, but thanks for coming on, chatting hockey in the month of June. It's going to be a fun season coming up.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Thanks for having me, Sam. This is great. And yeah, looking forward to seeing Pack Coliseum like the old days. I know the rink looks a little bit different
Yeah,
and it might feel different this year, but I think it's something that people should be a part of, whether they're attached to the game or not. So,
yeah,
really appreciate you taking the time to really talk about our sport and what we're doing here in North
absolutely.
Dakota. So that's just awesome.
Absolutely. Tyler Klein, the head coach of the Fargo North Spartans, joining us here on this Thursday morning. Big thank you for joining us here once again today. Talking hockey in the month of June. There is nothing better than that. Again, the big news, North and South officially co-oping for this upcoming season. And we mentioned it there. It all boils down to the key aspect of things, and that is participation in high school sports. North or South and Shanley, when they co-op last year, if I saw it correctly, there was only 2 guys from South that were on that roster. You gotta give those guys an opportunity to play somewhere, and there's only 13 total coming up throughout the South program. At least that was what was on the co-op application for this upcoming year. Got to give them a chance. I love that they're coming together. There's good talent at both of those schools coming together, creating more parity in the sport of high school hockey in North Dakota. He mentioned it. Legacy's getting better. Minot's fantastic now, even though they may lose some graduating talent from this last season. Red River and Central's always going to be at the top of the mix. Davies is always getting better. I'm very curious what Shanley's going to look like now, a new and up-and-coming program. But a lot of those kids had success with this South Shanley co-op just over the last couple of years. Things are going to look really interesting coming up into this upcoming high school hockey season, not just on the boys' side, but on the girls' side as well. And I'm glad that they're getting the opportunity to allow kids a chance to play. Yeah, there's probably going to be cuts in there somewhere, but that's how sports work. A lot of people get cut. I was cut from everything in high school. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how everything shakes out. All right, we are due for a break. We'll step aside when we come back. Let's chat a little College World Series. It was a crazy night last night, and then we'll get into a deep run with St. Cloud Power Hour coming up to wrap up the show at 10:35 today. That's coming up when we come back on Hot Mic.